So it's Thursday, the 10th of July, and we still sit here awaiting Boro to make a start on their summer transfer business. Today we're going to start a mini-series that we're going to do throughout the summer, looking at the players linked leaving Boro, as well as hopefully some players that are actually going to come to Boro. So, where are we at then on the 10th of July? There's obviously a little bit of panic starting to set in with some Boro fans. Today I'm going to talk about the players that have been linked, some that have but have been rubbished. Obviously there is also a little bit of news on potentially players who could be imminently leaving and what that might mean for Boro's transfer window as a whole. But yeah, so far the 10th of July and we sit here with no real news, really. Nothing to report. It's been very, very quiet. I'll put a tweet out on the screen, something that my good friend Chris posted, which compared Boro's activity this summer transfer window compared to past windows. And we have, at every point in the last 4 or 5 transfer windows, I think we have signed a number of players by this point. So we are behind where we have been in recent seasons, but I will say it does feel like a quieter transfer window this time. I wouldn't say we're behind as such, but I would like us to be ahead, and that's where we're not. You know, there's a lot of teams in the Championship that have made some pretty shrewd signings so far. It has been quite slow off the board, but I think a lot of the teams that have gotten going and gotten moving already, I think will definitely benefit for that. And we can only hope Boro are going to get a move on sooner rather than later. So at the minute, I'm not too bad. I'm still calm enough. However, if we get to this point this time next week and Boro still haven't made a move, then there will be reason to start getting a little bit nervous, because we all know the job that needs to be done both on the pitch and off the pitch for Boro to transition and be in a healthy position going into this season. There is a lot of players that Boro are going to need, not only just to make the squad better and improve the depth, which has been an issue since last season, but also players that are better suited to Rob Edwards' style of play. Now, there have been players that have been linked throughout the summer, and I guess the one worry at the minute is that the links are pretty sparse as well. Normally, even if you haven't made signings, there's still plenty of solid links knocking around, which give you the confidence that something's imminent. But at the minute, we can't even say there's that many links either. A couple of names that have been dropping around, all summer. Tyrese Dolan of Blackburn Rovers, he's a name that's been mentioned enough times to suggest that there's definitely something in that. Normally, links like that get shot down by the local journals pretty quickly, but I don't believe Tyrese Dolan is one of them. He is a right winger who does play on the right-hand side. I think is right-footed as well, so a more natural winger. Maybe that indicates a potential move to a 3-4-3 or a 4-3-3 if Boro want to use natural wingers. As long as he's a right-footer playing on the right-hand side, as I've said many times, I don't want to see another inverted winger in my life. So if Boro are going to have out-and-out wingers, then I praise the goddamn Lord. But we have moved on to another right-wing target since, believably, so maybe the Tyrese Dolan links have gone, and maybe that is a move that's not looking as likely. Of course, there was, I think, a very solid link with Kane Kessler-Hayden. He, of course, has went to Coventry instead. There was a lot of upset Boro fans who I think weren't happy that he chose Coventry over us, but quite honestly, I don't understand why fans are so upset by it. If I was a player at the minute looking at Coventry and Middlesbrough and wanted to pick the one that I thought was the most likely to get promoted, I'd go to Coventry. I really, really would. They've got 2 promotions, 2 playoff campaigns in the last 3 seasons. Boro have only 2 in our last 8. They finished 5th last season. We finished 10th. They're on a very strong, steady uphill trajectory, I would say. Boro are stuck in the mud, almost like we're sinking into quicksand at the moment. So I don't blame him for going there. Plus, I think maybe Coventry are just in a better, more stable position to just get signings done, with them, of course, still having Lampard and coming off the back of a pretty good season, you'd have to say. A good end of the season, especially. There's been another couple of links via Chelsea. Alfie Gilchrist is one that's been linked massively. He's a right-back who is a youngster at Chelsea. I think he was in League One last season. I don't know if it was Leyton Orient or Charlton. I can't remember which team he was at in League One, but he has been linked, as has Josh Akimpom, I want to say, unless I've butchered that. Another right-back. Does not surprise me if Boro are tapping into the Chelsea youth system. As we know, Adi Vivesh and Harry Watling both worked very well at Chelsea in their youth system in the past, so it would make sense that there'd be links there. Other links that have been quite loud throughout the window, Alfie Doherty is one that will not go away. That one is incredibly plausible. He fits Rob Edwards' system perfectly, as we believe. He obviously worked with him at Luton last season, and the year before was outstanding in the Premier League for Luton Town, and I think he's a Premier League player, really. He's never a League One player, but there are rumours that Luton are requesting a big fee for him, even in League One, because he signed a new contract not too long ago, and it doesn't seem as easy as you'd maybe think it would be to pluck a guy who is way too good from League One out of a club like Luton. It looks like it could be a bit of a task for any club to get him. I just hope Boro are at the front of the queue, because I think he would fit Boro's system and style to a T. Another couple of links that have come up in more recent days, ones that I think are the most recent and the most concrete. We've had Pavel Sulk from Vittoria Pilsen or Pisen. I don't know what country they're from, if I'm honest, but he's an attacking midfielder. He's a 10. He's been linked over the last few days, as has Sontje Hansen. He's quite an exciting young player who come through at Ajax, currently plays in Holland. I think any player who comes through at Ajax and comes through the Dutch youth system is an exciting one. He's another right-sided right winger, which again gives you an idea as the areas that Boro are targeting. And the other is a right-back. Callum Britton has been linked from Blackburn Rovers. That link did come via Sky Sports, so you'd have to say it is a pretty credible one. In terms of outgoings, of course, Hayden Hackney and Rav Vandenberg are the two really big names that are the most linked. We've not really seen many links for any of the Boro players to leave the club, to be honest with you, and I thought there'd be quite a few that might go, but so far, only Rav and Hackney have been linked with other clubs. It's obviously big Premier League clubs. Rav linked with Crystal Palace, Hackney linked with pretty much every club that there is. And I think Boro are very much bracing themselves for bids for both. Now, whether we are waiting for them bids to come through before we make moves ourselves, I don't know. It makes sense in a way. I mean, I'm sure Boro have a budget currently that we know we can work with, but if we did sell one of or both Hackney and Rav, if that gives us even more money to work with this summer, and then would give us more room to get an Alfie Doherty or whatever, then it could be worth waiting to get them sales done. I just hope, unlike past windows with Latilath as the most recent example, Boro don't leave it too late to get these players out the door so we can recoup the money and invest it quickly. We do not want to be left scrambling around at the end of the window for players. We want to get deals done and hopefully done quickly. That's both incomings and outgoings. So that's where we stand in terms of links. I'll refer now to a article from Dom Shaw from the Northern Echo, who, as you guys know, if you've seen many videos on my channel, I think is one of the most reputable Boro sources and journals out there. He put this article out, I think it was yesterday, as I'm recording this on Wednesday the 9th. And it's the Middlesbrough transfer stance on Link Trio and Hackney interest grows. So he refers to the three most recently linked players that I've mentioned in this video, as well as Hayden Hackney especially. And he says Sonte Janssen and Pavel Sulch are both players who have been closely watched by Middlesbrough, while Callum Britton is one of the right-back options being explored ahead of the coming season. Of course, Boro massively needing players on that right-hand side. Interesting, though, that he's been mentioned as a right back and not a right wing back. Does that mean Boro are adopting a 4 at the back system? Something that has popped back up amongst fans over the last few weeks. Is it going to be easier from a recruitment point of view if we stick with a 4, so there's less change amongst the squad? Will Rob Edwards be willing to go with a 4 and steer away from his usual back 3? It all depends on the balance between what he wants to do with Boro's current squad, what's best for them, but also what's best for him and the system he wants to play. But yeah, right back is interesting, as I say, indicates maybe we're sticking with a back 4. One player, though, that has been linked, that has been ruled out completely again, is Louis Barry. He, of course, was quite far down the line, we believe, with Hull City. That move collapsed. Boro were linked with Louis Barry last January as well. That link was proven to be completely falsified, and it's the same here again. It very much seems like, even though Boro are constantly linked with Louis Barry, for whatever reason, Maybe it's our relationship with Villa and the players we've signed from Villa in recent years, but again, that's been completely squashed by Dom Shaw. Louis Barry is not on Boro's radar. He mentions that Boro are currently in Portugal, of course. Hayden Hackney is there. He is a part of the training camp, but there's growing interest from the Premier League and overseas. I think I've seen links from Portugal, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Boro are braced for offers. Boro haven't yet strengthened their squad this summer, but Hansen and Sulk, strongly linked this week, are both understood to be of interest. Former Ajax youngster Hansen has caught the eye in his homeland over the last 2 seasons since joining NEC Nijmegen. I've butchered that. Another word I've butchered in this video. The 23-year-old winger scored 6 goals and registered 4 assists in the Eredivisie last season, turning heads at several championship clubs. But Boro, unfortunately, are the only club in for him, which is the way in the championship. Only failed in a bid to sign him late in the January window after missing out on Morgan Whittaker. So interestingly, Hansen was Burnley's second choice after Morgan Whittaker. We could end up having both of them at the club by the end of this window. But big spending Birmingham City were also linked with Hansen early this window, as are Wrexham too. Copenhagen in Denmark are also monitoring matters. It does say Hansen has 2 years left to run his contract, but it's not clear at this stage what sort of offer it would take to tempt the Dutch club into doing business. So might be in the very early stages of that. Boro in competition with Birmingham and Wrexham. You'd like to think we'll be able to get the player in if we're competing with 2 sides who've just come up. But as we well know, Birmingham are throwing money around like it's no one's business, and Wrexham, they're not exactly tight for cash either. So that might be tougher than it looks. And I can only begin to imagine the absolute nuclear warfare meltdown online if Boro are beaten to a player by 2 newly promoted sides from League One. On to Sulch. It says Sulch, meanwhile, has now moved into the final year of his contract with Czech club Victoria Plzeň. God, butchered that again. Czech club in his final year, so he'll hopefully come at a slightly cheaper price, and there's an expectation the attacking midfielder will be on the move this summer, but competition is fierce. Bournemouth, Lazio and clubs in Germany and Turkey are all said to be of interest in the 24-year-old who scored 20 goals, 20, and provided 15 assists in 54 games last season. That is ridiculous. He's a number 10 who is also comfortably playing in a deeper midfield role and won Player of the Year in the Czech top tier last season. I think it's safe to say if Boro are in competition with Bournemouth, Lazio, clubs in Germany and Turkey, I'd be astounded if we beat a lot of them clubs to his signature, so I'm not going to get too overly excited with that one. But yeah, 35 goal contributions. Holy hell. Maybe if Azaz moves on, he could be a solid replacement. They also mention for Blackburn right back Callum Britton. His future is unclear as things stand, with Rovers so far unable to force a breakthrough in contract talks, so they want to sign him on, but they're not getting anywhere. The 27-year-old's current deal expires next summer, and a number of clubs are keeping tabs on the situation, with Boro being one of them. So if they want to get him, get rid of Britton for a fee, he'll have to go this summer. They're trying to negotiate. If they can't, he'll either go for a fee this summer or they'll lose him on a free next year. So it would seem of Blackburn's interest, if they can't strike a contract with him, they've got to offload him this summer if they want to get any money for him. So it's a good player to probably be looking at if you are Boro. Again, there's interest though from the Championship. Wrexham and Derby are said to be interested, with Rams boss John Eustace, who was of course previously in charge at Blackburn, keen on a reunion. That would probably put the cards in Derby's court. Although again, if Boro get beaten to a player by Derby or Wrexham, there could be hell on, but there is clearly a link with John Eustace, so I can see why that would be plausible. The right back is coming off his best season at Ewood Park, and Rovers were hopeful of contract breakthrough before now. Britain has a strong relationship with head coach Valerian Ismail, who he previously played for at Barnsley, but is also aware of interest from elsewhere. He goes on to say strengthening at right back is a top priority with Boro. Having only Luke Ayling, of course, who is coming off a difficult and injury-disrupted season. The only other senior player in that position is Josh Dedde, who, of course, has just had surgery on his toe, I believe. It does mention Louis Barry, who was set to join Hull last week for a fee of $3.5 million. That, of course, fell through, with Hull in all sorts of various financial trouble, now hit with a transfer embargo. The sanctions related to a non-payment fee owed to Villa for Barry's loan last season. the Hull owner did say, he wrote an open letter and said that there was zero issues with Villa, and saying Hull are confident they'll be successful with their appeal. Barry's collapsed move led to claims that Boro were also linked in January. Boro could have made the move, with one national pundit suggesting that was possible, but Boro are not interested in Louis Barry. He then finishes off with a giant list of clubs linked with Hayden Hackney. He's got interest from Everton. That has certainly gotten a little bit louder in the last day or two, but there's also Brentford, Fulham, Palace, West Ham, also keen. That's just in England. In Germany, he's got interest from Stuttgart and Bayer Leverkusen. Porto are also there, who of course tried to put a bid in January. And then Rav, of course, he's been linked with Brentford, Palace and clubs from overseas as well. So that's where we are at the minute with Boro's transfer news. A couple of them moves I can see being possible. The Hansen would be a very good one, although Sulch, I think it's going to be very tough with a lot of competition there. It depends how serious these big clubs are in signing him. He would be a coup and a half if Boro could get that deal done, if there is true interest. But there's not much else. You know, Callum Britton, again, the link to Derby and John Eustace could be an issue for Boro, so I wouldn't say any of these look super likely. I wouldn't say any of these look like they're really close. It's just interest at this point. You know, I don't think there's any rumours that Boro have put a concrete bid in for anybody yet. So fingers crossed next week we start to see significant movement, because I think that's when I might start feeling a little bit twitchy about Boro's summer window. But it could depend on interest from the Premier League clubs, of course, in Hackney and Rav. Maybe Boro are just waiting for them bids to come in. I'm 100% sure if their valuation is met, they will both leave the club this summer. And as I've said on my TikTok, as I've said before, I've got no problem losing either. I think Rav is replaceable at this level. We could get 2 or 3 defenders in for what we sell Rav for. To be honest, I don't think it will be a huge loss. Hackney is a huge loss, but is one I've been content with Boro losing since the final whistle went at Coventry over 2 months ago now. So we'll see if Boro are waiting for them deals to go through first. So we'll see if that might give us more money to spend. Maybe our business depends on them sales and how much money we have to spend there and in. So we'll have to wait and see what comes first, outgoings or incomings. Hopefully, though, we get things moving quickly, because it will certainly make the Boro fan base calm down a little bit and feel a little bit more optimistic ahead of a huge, huge start to the season. But until next time, guys, if you've enjoyed the video, do hit a like on the video, subscribe for more, and hit the bell too, so you never miss when a video drops. As I say, I'm going to try and make this a bit of a series. So every few days, we'll probably take a look at certain links, certain players, if there are enough links. I've not done one yet because there's not been much to talk about, but this is the first significant chunk of information I guess we've had this window, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll be bringing more videos out on the channel as we move on. But until next time, guys, do take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.